country, and those wind chills will be moving east as we go on through the day. So our two main features going to be the low pressure heading up through New England. What's left of it, it is encountering some colder air. Saw some reports of snow out of the Albany office of up to 6 inches of snow in parts of upstate New York, western Massachusetts. Weather Channel has someone up in Concord, New Hampshire, where they closed schools for 3 inches of snow today in Concord, New Hampshire. I guess they had a few days to burn. But they did talk about, they actually interviewed the mayor, and they said the reason was it was expected to change to sleet and freezing rain. So they were just being cautious since they had the bandwidth to do so. And then we'll be tracking the upper level low here as it comes through, bringing the sharp drop to temperatures, a little bit of light snow, but with the ground being warm, we had plenty of problems in St. Louis this morning. We'll show you a few of those. And then behind that, it's just cold high pressure in the western part of the country. The forecast now, that low as it moves up into New England, we are looking for a solid 3 to 6 inches of snow, and a few of the higher mountains will get a little bit more than that. This is great news for the ski resorts in the New England who have been suffering a lot this year. And in behind this, when we get the cold air and the lake effect, those western slopes in Vermont are expected a good amount of snow. And then as we look through the Midwest, again, the upper level low and the dynamics will squeeze out maybe up to an inch of snow all the way down into Tennessee, through the Ohio Valley, generally 1 to 3. And then you notice, you get a little lake enhancement here, the upper peninsula of Michigan, the western lower peninsula down towards South Bend and Elkhart, and then eventually over in off of Lake Erie in Ontario, could be some locally 10 to a foot amounts in those areas with this very sharp change to cold. And Cindy and Kent, this is what you missed this morning. As you can see, several accidents. They did close parts of I-64. And again, it is that, not a lot of snow, but warm ground, snow falls, and then all of a sudden you got ice everywhere. So.
I just got a text from my morning meteorologist. They got an inch of snow, 1,400 square liquid. They've had 1 fatality so far. Accidents, more. They're on. They've been on since 4 a.m. They're staying on until 11 a.m.
Wow. Yeah. So it doesn't take a lot. Doesn't take a lot. It's almost like, we talk about a light freezing rain event. It doesn't take a lot, but when you get those sharp drops in temperature with just a little bit of snow, it can raise a lot of havoc. All of a sudden, people sliding all over the place.
What do they do to pre-treat the roads? Do they?
Yeah.
They put a brine down or something like that?
I'm sure they were well prepared.
Not that well prepared.
And then I did, just like the jackets came in a little late, I did have them ship in the GFS model for today's briefing. So just taking, first of all, we'll take a look. Here's the satellite loop and the main features that we have today. Here's our low moving up through New England. Here's the kind of the upper level trough. You can see a little bit of enhancements to the clouds, a little spin in this area, and that's what's bringing the snow with the ushering in the colder air. Saw a clipper we talked about over the weekend. There that is coming across Montana up into Saskatchewan. Well, as that drops southeast, and the latest models are really dampening that out as it moves east from there. Sorry, the map, it's updating right now. And I just basically brought up the radar of the northeast because there's really not much else going on. But you can see all that moisture is hitting the cold air interior New England, so they are getting the snow up in this area. And again, as we said, maybe generally a 3 to 6 inch snow. And then here you can, okay. I zoomed to hit it by mistake. Sorry about that. And then you can see, kind of a widespread. I saw maybe 4 to 5 inches of snow in parts of eastern Iowa and central Wisconsin with this. And, it's just about to start snowing in Chicago. And again, mounts generally going to be light, but again, it is, as you can see here, the radar is detecting some rain. I think it was like in Louisville, like 40 degrees the last hour when I looked at it. So you got the warm air and then the sharp change to colder. It's 28 and snowing in Paducah last report that I looked, and the temperatures will continue to drop. And so in this area, you'll be getting some snow and probably some more problems as we go on through the day today. So taking a look at, I'm out of 174 hours, getting too far ahead. All right, so there's our two lows. The one low moving through New England that brought all the rain and now is going to bring the snow, and the second low more reflective of the upper level trough here in the middle of the country. So as we go through the day today, the New England snow continues. and maybe mixes with some sleet and freezing rain, while we've got a couple of impulses around the upper level low. One here where the heights are really low. Across Chicago may get 3-4 inches of snow from that. And then as the trough digs in and we start to get a little elevation helping here, maybe from Knoxville up on into West Virginia, and then that will track up through western Pennsylvania up on into New York. So we're looking at probably a good 3 to 6 inches of snow, even for the ski resorts in the Appalachians, central Appalachians as well. And then with that flow and the closed low and the low heights, lake effect is really going to be kicking in and continuing on into Saturday morning, where you could be looking in the favorite areas, maybe a foot of snow. We were talking yesterday about this clipper. New models are much less impressed with it. It dampens it out considerably as it tracks its way onto the south and east. And then once that goes by, it looks like by Sunday, broad southwest flow. So we were showing those departures by Sunday. You can see things really warming up ahead of the next system. And this one coming a little farther south and west looks like finally going to get some decent precipitation in the Pacific Northwest down through Oregon, and then eventually by middle of next week we could be looking at some moisture down into central California. In the meantime, as this low pushes on in, it'll bring some more mountain snow, some rain to the coast, and then more Arctic air is going to start working its way back down through the high plains as we head on into Monday and Tuesday of next week. And as that trough pushes through, Intermountain region probably going to be getting some snow, so this is definitely some good news here. And then at least here on the GFS, forecasting a wave of low pressure out ahead of that next shot, which will bring a return to some rain for Texas, which really needs it. And then that rain works its way across the southeast as the cold air comes in. It looks like another shot of snow for Denver Monday night. And then another system coming into the northwest. So the pattern kind of changing here. The jet that's been up in Canada and British Columbia is starting to shift a bit farther to the south. So we'll get a little more action. I'll show you as far as the temperatures go, though, it doesn't look like the Arctic air is going to lock in or anything like that.
Do you have numbers on those thickness values there? I assume those are thickness values, your dash lines?
Yes.
Check one out. Just repeat that, Dale.
He was asking, do I have any numbers on those thickness lines? It's hard to read it on here. Are you a little concerned about getting some?
I just want to know what it is.
Yeah. This is 510. The yellow line here, that's 510, and that's 540 down there. So, yeah, so it does look close that you could, Northwest could get some ice or snow to the coast as these systems continue to evolve next week. So when you head back, you might have some interesting weather there, Matt. Oh, so, what the heck happened there? Okay, come on. Okay. So anyway, so it looks like another wet system in the southeast and from Texas. So these areas, saw an email that in Georgia anyway, where it's been dry, drought conditions, Lake Lanier was about 12 feet below average. It's now up, they said, 2 more feet from this recent rain. So it's up to 1060, I think. Full is 1072. So the south getting these systems, it's helping out, especially in Texas too. So anyway, as we continue on next week, got another shot of cold air that comes across the eastern part of the country. Again, mostly rain with this system, but you may get a little bit of snow on the tail end and some lake effect. And there's another one coming into the northwest as we move on into Wednesday. As you can see, a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and then some snow up there in the higher terrain. And then the next one, as we head on into later in the week, looks like a little farther south with this system. So rain down to northern California and maybe eventually getting some snow into the maybe into the northern Sierra anyway. So a little bit of change, but still, right after that shot of cold air comes by with the jet continuing across the country, another shot of warm air coming on into the plain states. Wanted to show a little bit, show some 850s and what we looked at that cold air yesterday. So here's a look kind of going forward, but we'll start back here. So here's our shot coming down for the next couple of days into the east. Again, it's bringing it back to average, really, until you get air below minus 25 or so. It really isn't very cold for January. And then we get our next shot building up there in western Canada, and then that one starts to move down and gets into the plain states, and that's as we go on into... can't see my times here on the bottom. Bring that up a little bit. heading into Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. So another shot there, but still got some pretty cold air here across Canada, thinking, well, maybe that's going to come down. But the latest trend on this model is to keep the brunt of the cold up just north of the border, sneaking into the northern plain states and the Great Lakes as we go on into time. I got a little time here. So again, we're seeing a lot more cold in Canada. As I mentioned yesterday, that's something that may bode for getting some more action in terms of winter weather here in the United States, but it just doesn't seem to be panning out that way. But at least it's close by, so we'll have to keep monitoring it. Just to take a look, different look at this. This is the GFS 850s. Again, this cold shot in the east. Let's see what it does as we get further out in time on into early next week. And I'll bring this back up again so we can see the dates and times. And there's, you know, there's some good air, minus 30, minus 35 air up in central Canada. The GFS wants to bring a little bit more of it down south of the border. This is getting on out to Wednesday of next week. And then still Canada's cold, and it tries to bring some more in. But taking it out now past 240 hours, at least the GFS tries to bring some of that cold air down, but this is getting way out there. So again, the trend I would say in the models in the longer range is more, it's not bringing as much of that cold air down into the U.S., but with it close by and the jet running across the U.S. now, things could get interesting. Okay? Any questions? All right. Thanks. Okay. All right, right now we're going to show you the schedule. We'll be back with our next presentation.